You ever get the feeling like I do that Donald Trump is just a bad house mother at a fraternity? Welcome back to another Manic Monday here at Occupy Democrats with Kevin E. And that's exactly how I feel in this breaking story, because Trump is dealing with a testosterone tantrum in his own backyard that basically he created himself with this.
Tariffs are not just about protecting American jobs.
The United States barely created any new jobs this summer. The Bureau of Labor Standards reporting the U.S. economy added only 22,000 jobs in August, less than a third of the figure most analysts expected. It is the latest in a series of increasingly grim jobs reports since Trump took office. And the deeper you look, the worse it gets.
They're about protecting the soul of our country, making America rich again.
Because if you recall, W called himself the decider, and we all know that Donald Trump is really the insider. That's what he is, because he causes things like this.
I believe these tariffs, they're going to be paid for by our workers and small businesses.
Senator, I would respectfully disagree.
Today, the government also revised its numbers from previous months. They said rather than gaining 14,000 jobs in June, the economy actually lost 13,000 jobs that month. It was the first such decline since, you guessed it, December 2020, the end of the first Trump presidency.
And regardless of what Trump says, he's got two of his big boys, Scott Bessent and Bill Pulte, at each other's throats, and I actually think he loves it because of comments like this.
And it will happen rather quickly. A little disturbance, we're okay with that.
Until the federal government steps in to save them, farmers have no one to turn to but God.
Trump's the guy who creates the problem for the farmers just so he can now probably come in and try to solve it and act like God, because that's who they're praying to.
Farmers, in my opinion, dear Lord, and it's only my opinion, are closer to thee than anyone else on this earth, because we deal with your earth every day.
But in this breaking story, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, and the guy who's the Director of Finance of Housing in this country are having a little problem.
Reuters says that Mark and Julie Pulte, who are the father and stepmother of Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte, have claimed housing exemptions for homes in Michigan and Florida since 2020. That could save them thousands of dollars a year.
But, Mr. Secretary, it's not just John Deere. We've heard from a lot of different companies around the country. The big three automakers all say they've had to pay more than $2 billion in tariffs. The list goes on and on. Bottom line, do you acknowledge that these tariffs amount to a tax on the American people?
Kristen, if things are so bad, why was the GDP 3.3%? Why is the stock market at a new high?
Goldman Sachs says 86% of the tariff revenue collected so far has been paid by American businesses and consumers.
But they're blaming it on Trump.
Bottom line, Mr. Secretary, do you acknowledge that these tariffs are a tax on American consumers?
No, I don't.
Check this story out, because it's going to remind you of this. Breaking news, in quotes, "I'm going to punch you." Top Trump officials pulled apart as threats hurled at swanky dinner. A private dinner for Donald Trump administration officials erupted when Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent confronted Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte, threatening physical violence during the exclusive Georgetown event, Politico reported Monday. The Wednesday evening gathering at Executive Branch, a club for Trump's inner circle, was intended to celebrate the club's inaugural dinner along with podcaster Chamath Palihapitiya's birthday. Approximately 30 high-ranking officials were present, including Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and other prominent administration members. During the cocktail hour, Bessent launched into an aggressive confrontation with Pulte, claiming the housing official had been speaking negatively about him to Trump. Witnesses reported Bessent's explosive verbal assault with him, demanding, "Why the F are you talking to the president about me? F you," and declaring, "I'm going to punch you in your effing face." Club co-owner Omid Malik intervened to prevent escalation. Bessent insisted on Pulte's removal, declaring, in quotes, "It's either me or him," and challenging Pulte to go outside. When Pulte asked if they could, quote, talk, Bessent responded he intended to beat your ash. according to the Politico report. Malik ultimately separated the men, moving Bessent to another part of the club. During the seated dinner, Bessent and Pulte were strategically placed at opposite ends of the table, and the event proceeded without further incident, the report stated. The confrontation highlighted underlying tensions between two top economic officials working on sensitive financial matters. Trump had previously tasked Bessent, Lutnick, and Pulte with collaborating on a plan to privatize Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Behind the scenes, the two men had been engaged in a power struggle. Besant believed Pulte was overstepping into his jurisdiction, while Pulte resented feeling marginalized. Their conflicting approaches were further complicated by their different relationships with Trump and competing visions for economic policy. Besant, known as a soft-spoken market strategist, has been viewed as a stabilizing force in the administration. Pulte, by contrast, has taken a more aggressive approach, quickly firing more than 100 Fannie and Freddie staffers and using his position to launch investigations targeting the president's critics. The incident was not unprecedented for Besant, who had previously confronted other administration figures, including a notable altercation with Elon Musk over IRS commissioner appointments earlier in the year. And of course, neither Besant, Pulte, Malik, nor the White House provided official comment to Politico on the encounter, because of course they didn't. Now you understand my reason for calling Trump a house mother to bad fraternity. "Aw, I heard you were talking bad about me behind my back to Mr. Donald Trump. Oh, well, you can go shove it. Oh, you want to step outside?" Seriously? These are people who have millions and millions of dollars. And these are the people who are running this country into the ground. Besant refuses to admit that tariffs are attacks on the American people, while Pulte is trying to create a fraud case against Lisa Cook when his own parents have listed two different properties in two different states for years and years, claiming primary residence to save money on their taxes. This is way more than a food fight, and I got news for you. Funny enough, rest his soul, John Belushi could probably himself come in and solve all of these Donald Trump fraternity house mommy problems just by being an actual man, which all three of these clowns are not. You guys stay frosty.